Not. So Patrick, do we, do we describe this for everybody, Rob?
What?
You
What?
describe it. You describe it. I
What?
do enough talking.
Whatever. What?
I think any car's dead in iRacing. I think it's gone.
Oh, it's definitely. I agree. It's not going to survive much. Probably. I still think we'll find opportunities to race it, just not as fruitful as before. Some of them just want to like make. What's the thing? Like that guy wanted to make like dolls out of Tyler's hair, but then there's just other guys who are just like. He did. He would say weird things to Tyler, man. Like he was a strange guy. And then like other guys would just show up and nowhere. He's like, "Oh, we never met you? Sure, come race this 24 with us." And then you just jump in the car and wreck us out in a lap and be like, "Okay, never see you again."
Yeah, that
like,
was
okay. Well, better luck next year, I guess.
That was the guy from.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome along to the American Muscle Series. We're in Leicestershire, England, at Castle Donington for round 2 of Season 4 at the Donington Park Racing Circuit. It's a wonderful, typical British racing circuit going around the full Grand Prix loop this evening as well. You can't really ask for more than Ford Mustangs around a circuit like this. I'm Tom Dillon. Alongside me this evening, once again, is Adam Thompson. And Adam, well, welcome along to the stream.
Thank you, thank you. Excited to be here. If this race is any, or if last race is any consolation of how good this one's going to be, we are in for a treat tonight. Hopefully we don't have some questionable rejoins like we saw last week.
Yes, pointing no fingers on that particular point, but wonderful circuit. This 12-mile-an-hour winds, cloudy conditions, 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Not really sure what that means, I have to say, but if we are indeed running a live weather plugin, then of course it will be rather chilly right now. I'm about an hour away from this circuit, and I can tell you that if I didn't have my heater on, I would be rather chilly indeed. So I think definitely track temperature going to be a factor this evening. Here's Phil Keck exiting the pits. 10 minutes of qualifying ahead of us, and I have to say, I think we're expecting Aaron Arm to get pole position once again here. Adam, he set the fastest lap in the practice server, 136.4, and well, that's almost a second faster, well, over a second faster actually, than anything that the amateur drivers were able to set. He's definitely, well, he's a very prolific driver, I think we can say.
Yeah, it's almost insane at this point, for being honest. I've never commentated, broadcasted, or been part of a league where one driver is just absolutely flying through the field. Not even through the field. I mean, the guy qualifies first, and he wins by 10 or 15 seconds. So hopefully some of these drivers have put in a little bit more practice and can definitely get a little bit of give him at least some type of competition. I would expect Donington to be a little easier to stay close. It's a little bit draftier, but who knows? But we have a few people in the YouTube chat here real quick that I need to shout out, Tom. We've got Eric Marias saying, go P Keck is what we're on right now. The guy we're on, we're actually going to stay on him for a lap around the track. Got Guitar Monger shouting out Mr. Hodgson. And then Royal Smitiy said, shots fired early in response to what I said about the unnamed admin of the league.
Well, I've been looking forward to doing a lap on board with Donington Park. Here we go then, on board around Donington Park with P. Keck, as he's so named in chat. Down into turn 1, red gate. Look for just as the pit exit stops. Joins onto the track, down to third gear, 60 mile an hour, use the curb on the inside, open up the throttle, and now for the S's, the Craner curves. Right first, you can almost get away with this flat, maybe a hint of a lift in the Ford Mustangs, where you set up onto the left-hand side for the old hairpin, brake heavily down into third gear, a lot heavier than you think actually. This old hairpin open up the car once more. Keck on actually a very decent lap at the moment as he heads up into over the bridge, up into McLean's turn 7. Once again, just making sure that the weight transfer is perfect. Third gear again. Lots of these corners actually being third gear. Up into the next right-hander, double apex. This one take all the curb on the entry. And then as you exit the corner as well, go over to the left-hand side. Now you're going to want to start to just creep over to the right-hand side, not taking the shorter circuit this evening. Grand Prix loop is in force. Use all the curb on the right-hand side. Brake heavily into the chicane. Fastest chicane on the calendar, most likely. And up into a hairpin. This hairpin is so difficult. It's very much like that one at the Nürburgring. Have to pick your braking point absolutely perfectly. Down into second, maybe first gear here. 40 mile an hour. Creep on the throttle on the exit down into the final corner on this circuit. And this corner is an absolute nightmare. Over all the way, almost onto the grass here. Phil Keck turn the car in very early. Make sure you get the rotation. He has got that rotation absolutely perfectly. Opens up the throttle. Phil Keck crosses the line. He's going to go into, trying to see as it flashes up on screen, pole position.
All right. Go, Mr. Keck. We're sitting here talking about Iro Nam, but Iro Nam has yet to complete a lap. Nelson now has taken over that pole position, and now the times are starting to come in. I would probably say we watched Phil on his first lap. These drivers get 4, I believe. Probably that first flying lap that they run isn't the best. Still got to get a little bit of heat in those tires. Maybe burn off just a little bit of fuel as well.
These cars were almost made for Donington, weren't they? As we see here going round is Zaya, I believe, in the number 5 car. It's the number 69 car.
Kevin Parrish.
Kevin Parrish in the pro category. 6th position at the moment. 1/10 of a second off of the next fastest car. Phil Keck heading up to the Grand Prix loop now through the chicane. Commitment is crucial here. I'm surprised those bollards haven't been smashed out of the way already as we switch over to Iro Nam on pole position at the moment. Only by a second by his standards. It's a pretty close qualifying session.
I think what we might do is ride on board here with Arrow just to show. I mean, we rode on board here with Phil Keck, and it was an unbelievable lap by Phil. Looked like he was wringing just about everything he could out of that car. So this lap, we're going to see exactly what Arrow's doing. The how much later he's braking, how much, because he just looks so smooth right now. It doesn't look like there's really much going on. As David Moore in the AM class sets a fastest sector 3.
Let's see what Iro Nam can do then. I suspect he may just come back into this, down into turn 1. Have a listen to the engine as he goes into this corner. Probably looking to break down into about 3rd gear, maybe even 2nd gear. Making sure you get the throttle clip absolutely perfect through there. And he looks to be pretty good actually. Use all of the track on the left-hand side. And making sure he's taking a tight line through the Craner curves. As he does absolutely perfectly to the left-hand side. Now breakdown for the old hairpin. 3rd gear again. Just keep the car on a knife edge. Weight transfer is so important in these cars, and particularly on a track like Donington where you're changing direction almost constantly through sector 1 and up into sector 2 as well. Ready for the next right-hander onto the curbs once more. And he's attacking the curbs so aggressively, Iro Nam, Adam.
He really is. And no, I mean, we're watching. You can kind of see he's fighting the wheel a little bit. Look, he's got a little bit of drift going on even. So he's definitely just driving the... what can I say
wheels
on stream? Driving the wheels off of it. There we go. Driving the absolute wheels off this car. I mean, look at the way he took that chicane. Those bollards were in serious danger right now.
Well, he's driving like it's his last day on Earth and down into the hairpin. Look at the rotation here. He almost goes deep, but no, he doesn't go deep. He's managed to turn the car around almost like he's taking a handbrake turn in a rally car. Now through to the next hairpin, I suspect the rotation through here is going to be just as incredible. He's almost doing the karting technique of locking the rear brake so you get the turn in and the rotation as well up into turn 1, then crossing the line. Iro Nam, he might just go even faster, and he does.
Unbelievable. Keith Nelson thought he had a chance there, and Then he didn't. All of a sudden, he went from 5/10 to 7/10 back. Aeronam right now on pole position. Fabian Zoyer is sitting there right now in third. We're going to stay on him until he crosses the line. Jake Luther hopped in the chat and said, I heard Adam said a 138 on this lap with only 5 minutes of practice. You got to get your facts right, Jake. It was definitely a 137.6. So, yeah, I'd be out there beating Arrow right now if I was on.
Actually quite competitive, a 137.6 in the amateur category. That would go faster than Roy Baker in practice, I should say. But anyway, as we continue on, here's Dustin Arliss up to Sector 3 now. 5th position at the moment. I mean, realistically speaking, most of these guys are competing for best of the rest. 44 car, just hoping really that anything happens to Arrow, or they can find anything to get the beating of him. 2nd position is essentially the only place you've got as a chance to compete with Arrow Knob at the moment.
David Moore there again. Look at that. 3rd sector fastest. He ran yellow 1 and 2, but 3rd sector was the fastest again for David Moore there in the AM class. So keep an eye out for this AM category tonight. Be quick, if I do say so myself. But a little bit of backstory here on Dustin Arliss. Dustin Arliss is Matt Malone's admin for Matt Malone's Twitch. And Dustin had said that one of these days he's going to beat Matt Malone. If you look at where Dustin and Matt are right now in 4th and 5th overall and in class, this may be Dustin's best chance to do it.
Well, the battle of the Twitch channel, I suppose. The Matt Malone Twitch derby, maybe, as we have a look here at Phil Keck going up to Sector 3. Now, I say Sector 3. I'm assuming Sector 3 based on the regular Donington Park, but obviously this is including the Grand Prix loop, so I suppose just the end of Sector 2. There's the timing line there, just on the entry into this double apex corner. I suppose technically it's counted as 2 turns, I think, on this circuit. I know it's not a cop, it's counted as 1 turn, turn 8. Is actually, just like that, we go to the grid. Adam, take us through it.
Oh, you would do that, wouldn't you? All right, starting here in first, we got Aeronam, none other than Aeronam, about 0.7 of a second up on Keith Nelson Jr. Fabian Zoyer starts in the 2nd row with Matt Malone beside him. Reppin' Illinois, heck yeah, Matt. Dustin Arliss there in 5th with Phil Keck 6th. Jeff Robichaud 7th. Scott Banks 8th. Jay Bass 9th. Oh, Randall McGrew back there in 10th, sitting in the middle of the field. Watch out, guys. Brian Howard there in 11th with Kevin Parrish in 12th. Evan Hoopchak 13th. Anthony Castillo 14th. Edgar Sanchinelli 15th. Jesse Hodgson 16th. Clint Fletcher there in 17th. And Roy Baker, first person in the AM class, 18th position overall, 1st in class. But Charles Hosea and Chris Schultes both right behind him. So again, that open class the AM class has a serious chance here to put on a show. David Moore there in 21st as well. David Clymer 22nd. Todd Hansen 23rd. Mike Nickham there in 24th. And you know what, Tom? Just because, I'm going to let you go ahead and take the rest of them.
As James Rayleigh's in 25th with Dan Ott in 26th. Mike Thompson Jr. starts at 27th. Matthew Thompson alongside him in 28th. Matthew Gazenda is the last of the pro runners in 29th with Jesus Andrade in 30th. Michael Puchik starts 31st with David Blair in 32nd. Ken Estep out of California starts 33rd with Chuck Labano in 34th. And it's Jeff Besnard and Jay Little 35th and 36th.
We got Nick Batista there in 37th with Stephen Price 38th. Kenny Meadows 39th. Scott Brooks there in 40th. Jeff Andres in 41st. And Eric Snook back there in 42nd. Luis Henriquez, I don't believe, went to the grid. So he may be starting from the pits, or he may just decided not to qualify. I did hear, though, and this is going again, I forget this is a standing start. All you, Tom.
Aeronam leading way into turn 1 as we expected. Crucial to get the first braking zone right around the outside. Goes the 2nd place starter. Aeronam holds firm though, I think, at the start. As for the amateur class victory, there's the 42 car trying to go around the outside to make up positions as soon as possible in this race. Through the crane of curves they go then for the first time around Donington Park. 40 Mustangs barreling down there is a scary sight. Frankly, the roar of the V8s down the inside. Who's that? Is that the 32 car, I think, going through just about? Yes, down into the old hairpin. That's Hansen in the pro category. Jesse Hodgson is his next car, and then the amateur class leader just ahead of them at the top of your picture. But it seems pretty clean so far, and limited fast repairs has been implemented for this particular race by accident or through a glitch. Randall McGrew says, who also starts from pit lane this evening, with Aeronaut who leads the way out of turn 1 and out of lap 1. Oh, I say clean. There's a spinner at the back of the field. It's the 5 car.
It looked like that was not Stefan Price, but we do have another wreck as well from Stefan Price. We will go ahead and stick on board with him. See exactly what happens here. Oh man, there's a bunch of, oh my goodness, there are a few spinners there actually.
So Goblin just not able to get the car back turned around as he grabbed on the curb, I think, with the Riz. Waiting to get it back round. There you go. Steady, steady, steady. Oh, just about got it, I think. Oh no. He's eventually back round as we see that was almost a move for the lead. Aeronom does have the lead, however, and has the lead reasonably comfortably with second position, about 8 tenths of a second, I'd say that is, behind him. Fastest lap of the race, unsurprisingly, for Aeronom.
Yep, he's doing well so far. You know, staying pretty close. Kevin is keeping him, or Keith, I apologize, is keeping him honest right now. So yeah, it's just going to be a game of attrition here, I think. Keith obviously has to push about as hard as he can, but obviously you got to drive within yourself here and try to keep Aero somehow within the draft, but you can just see that interval just slowly but steadily growing and growing and growing.
Will be his first Grand Slam of the season, of course, for Aeronami. Just about avoided having a Grand Slam last time out. He was just unable to do so as he hit a lap earlier than everyone else. He basically knows Aeronom that if he goes for an overcut, he's got a Grand Slam in the bag. He makes a Grand Slam look like an ordinary slam. He does it that often in this series. Here's a battle. I think this is involving the amateur class leader, as it is. He's trying to make moves forward and not quite able to do so just yet. In fact, I think he's defending ever so slightly.
If you guys give me just a few minutes here, you will see the drivers that we're talking about here on the bottom left side of the screen, just trying to get the overlay to work just a little bit with me. It's working pretty well, but we're going to keep in this battle, Tom. We have got Hodgson and somebody else. There's about 4 people back there. Hodgson, Hansen, Castillo, and Schultes all battling for one position.
Yeah, there's just a few. Let's try and figure out what's going on here then as they go down into the Grand Prix loop. Really difficult part of the circuit out down to turn 1. There's a mover, and I think that's actually going to be on Hosier. Is that Jesse Hodgson going through into 13th position? Maybe not quite. Not too sure. Has to defend back into turn 1 though. Does do so. It's so tentative. It's so difficult to really find a place to make a move here. There's a mover at the top of your picture. I'm not too sure who that was. I think it might have been Edgar Sancinelli in the striking yellow liveried Mustang. It was indeed Edgar Sancinelli in the number 80 car, able to get into 13th position. 14th is Hosier, the leader of the amateur category. He's got Hansen and Hodgson behind him. Here is a slow car actually onto the grass further at the top of your picture. There's the green one. I can't quite see who that is. It's Matthew Thompson. Almost as the likeness to his real car there in his profile picture.
I was going to say, I can see a green, much newer Mustang going around what looks like, oh, where would that be? Maybe Laguna Seca there. That looks like the corkscrew of Laguna Seca.
I think it is the corkscrew. Actually, I think you're right on that one. I don't think any other corner has got a banking quite like that. There goes through Dan Ott out of Illinois into 22nd position. He actually doesn't take any position. I think he was defending there for Matthew Thompson ever so slightly. He's got Mike Nickham just ahead of him. Huchak has got past Howard at the top of the field. That's in 9th position in class and overall. Aeronam is, well, I don't really need to update you on that. He's pulling away, so unsurprisingly. And sets the fastest lap of the race once again by quite a comfortable margin. Here is the battle for the podium positions. Matt Malone and Dustin Arlitt having a battle here. The Twitch chat derby, I suppose. And there goes Arlis, almost spinning off of the racetrack.
That was extremely close. Alice probably has his sweating just a little bit right now, but he's still able to keep it right on the back of Malone. Look at Alice made a mistake, but he's back right up there on Malone again. So I think Alice may have the pace.
Alice might just have the pace. He might have the run. Not really a place to make a move, though. Down into here, he just has to hold back and hold fire for a moment. Cop is not really a place to make a move either, unless you're very, very brave, or making a move on a slower class car really has to wait for perhaps the hairpin. Again, the chicane, not really the greatest place to make a move. This is the battle for the podium position, of course. I believe we just saw a change for 5th position as Banks got past Robichaud. Here is Scotty Banks on the inside.
Yeah, I was going to say, he hasn't done it yet, but now he does. He finally gets it done. Man, that's got to be scary, especially through that chicane, trying to make an overtake there, but Banks does it perfectly.
Yeah, the meaning of the term lost, the meaning of the term on rails is not lost on these cars. Here's Arlis, he might just have a run here down into the final hairpin. Around the outside he has to go, maybe a dive bomb, and his good friend down into this final corner, not quite able to do so. He does show his nose ever so slightly, tries to get the run down into turn 1 now. Is the next opportunity. Can Dustin Arlis send a move finally? I think he's a little bit too far back at him. He has to wait and he has to bide his time again. It will start to be a little bit frustrating. Notice how his rival's taking Matt Malone a slightly wider line into turn 1, just carrying a slight bit more speed through there. Here's the battle with Castillo. This is right in the mix of the amateur category as well.
Yeah, this is a battle back here. These guys are not giving an inch back here for 17th, 18th, 19th, 20th, and even 16th place. I mean, they're all just nose to tail, and you can see Castillo got just a little bit off into the grass there. It's amazing how much you can slide these Mustangs and still hold on to them.
It is absolutely crazy. I've driven a little bit of these Mustangs in terms of doing various testing sessions, and I have to say, they hold on to pretty much anything you throw at them. It's quite incredible. Anthony Castillo in 17th position, looking to make a move on Hansen, who himself is looking to make a move on Hodgson. Edgar Santinelli is at the head of the train, and he's just trying to build as much of a gap as possible. Hodgson not really able to find a way to hold on at the moment. Hansen just pressing and pushing as much as he can, but he's had a little bit of a poor corner there. Might just allow Hansen to have a look at him. Down into the chicane they go once again. Line of stern. I don't think that's going to change for quite a while yet. It must take so much commitment to follow a train of 4 cars through into that chicane.
I think it absolutely does. That's a very scary spot to do that. I would assume that these drivers probably don't have to deal with as much aero wash as some of these newer cars that rely a lot more on aerodynamic grip over mechanical grip, which I think, let's be honest, that rear wing on that car, I don't think it really does much for these Mustangs. This is all mechanical grip.
Yeah, these cars absolutely have zero aero, essentially, as here we go. Chris Shortese is trying to make a move. He just about got round Castillo, I think, there. And that he's held on to the position. Chris Shortese into 17th. 1 second to Hansen ahead, trying to just keep up with that train. If they were smart with their race management here, these guys could find themselves catching up to that train by working together, doing the old karting tactic. You see it in MX-5s as well a lot, I tend to find. Shortese, though, right now is going to have to turn his attack into defence as Castillo wants that position back. Can he find a move? Not quite just yet. Might have to send one down the inside, stay on the back into the left-hander, try and send one into the right. Not quite. Stays firm.
Doesn't quite have it yet, but it's going to be, you know what? You never know. Castillo's still on the back, and let's do a bit of a check-in here with Mr. Randall McGrew. Started from the pits, and he's back up here already. Having to start from the pits on a standing start, let everybody go by. Randall's already fought his way back up to 29th position. It says he's down 19, but keep in mind, he started in last, which was, what, 43rd?
Here he goes again, Randall McGrew, down the inside, up into 28th position before the chicane has even started, before he even has to think about applying the brakes. It might not yield him the most points in this pro category, but it will certainly be an entertaining drive for him. That's that 10 cars already that he's been able to overtake, 12 cars even with 40 on the grid. definitely showing more awareness of those around him than he was in the previous week.
You said it, not me. And we're going to move on here to Mike Nickum, someone we haven't covered yet. And his car is covering his face. I apologize for that. Bit of something I've got to fix. But yeah, Mike Nickum up there in 21st position. Up 3 positions, doing a pretty good job. And Tom, I'm going to hand it over to you. Why don't we go ahead and do an amateur class shout out?
Absolutely sure, because there's a new sponsorship for the amateur class in this season of the American Muscle Series. And in fact, it is brought to you by the Royal Smitiy Twitch channel. It's generously brought to you by the son of one of the AMS drivers, Chuck Labano, and his Twitch channel, Royal Smitiy. You can go show some support and give them a follow at twitch.tv/Royal Smitiy. You can see here, wonderfully, gloriously animated into your frame, a clip from their Twitch channel. It's very entertaining indeed. Is that a little bit of Call of Duty they were playing, I think, there? Too sure, I'm not clued up on my shooter games, but either way, looks very entertaining, and go and give them a follow if you can.
We've got a battle back here. We were going to go through the AM class, but there's a battle between Sanchinelli and Hodgson right now. But don't look, because it looks like they're about to try to go 3 wide going in to Melbourne Hairpin. This is going to be not going to work out well.
Oh, wide almost, Adam. Sanchinelli in the centre, like sandwiched in, and he's just about going to bang wheels. Hodgson loses out. Hodgson spins almost. He holds on to it. No, he doesn't. Just about into the grass. That is superb from Jesse Hodgson. He's a very, very lucky bunny. I think after that one, my word, that was very, very close indeed. Sanchinelli somehow, after all of it, holds on to the position. Who's that behind getting Sanchinelli? I think it's Hansen. Is it not? Either that or is it? No, it is Hansen. Can he find his way down into turn 1? He's definitely going to go for it. Shows his nose. Sanchinelli just about is going to hold firm, and he's not even going to think about forming a defence on that occasion. Sanchinelli, unwavering presence, I suppose.
Yeah, here's the problem that Sanchinelli has. He's still got a lot of race left to try to be holding these drivers off. And if I'm in Edgar's shoes right now, I am feeling the pressure. But Edgar right now seems to be holding on to it pretty well. I mean, you can tell Todd Hansen wants to find a way around him. Now he's going to try to go back down to the right side, and it just doesn't have enough drive off. Edgar, with that little bit of a wider line, gets the drive. The next right-hander here, same thing. Really, this is going to be a run down to that chicane again. It's going to be interesting to see if Todd can get enough slipstream. We might be able to see a move here, but Edgar's going to be pretty privy to it, I think.
He is. You don't really need to defend through the chicane. In fact, you don't want to defend through the chicane. It gives the guy a good run into the hairpin. That's exactly what Sanchinelli's going to do. He's just going to try and hold firm, make sure that he doesn't let him itself have the wool pulled over his eyes down into, well, down the inside into that corner. Here's a pit stop, and it's for Scott Brooks in the 149 car. One of the only Canadians on this grid, if I'm not mistaken. I don't recall seeing too many others.
Seems like an early stop.
Yeah, it's definitely an early stop. I think there must have been an instance, if I consult the notes a second here, I think it should be 16 laps on a tank, 17 for Savers, and the 24-lap race, you definitely don't want to be pitting on this lap 9. Here's Aeronaut. I mean, he's actually caught up to a little bit of traffic, trying to find his way through. Does find his way through. And I do believe that there are blue flag rules enforced here by the game. Now, they're informational only, aren't they? I remember Randall telling us about that last time he was on commentary with us. And I think gentleman's rule dictates that you get out of the way anyway for the race leader. More pit stops, actually. Sanchinelli comes into the pits as well. Now, this is truly interesting, because the question now, did they run purposely lighter in that first stint, knowing that they can run slightly lighter again into this second stint, rather than putting 17 laps of fuel in and then going for an 8-lap run to the end or so? Is this a tactical change, or is this something that they've done very much out of necessity?
Yeah, I mean, we're only 15 minutes into this race. It's going to be interesting. We're going to have to keep an eye on these guys that have come in this early and see if they're going to have to stop again, because that's early. I mean, there's no way, if they're running the amount of fuel that they needed to run, there's no way any of these drivers are going to make it. We're going to have to see if there are more pit stops coming in here.
As Royal Smitiy says, Labano is a Canadian too. Well, in my defence, I did say one of the only Canadians. I didn't say the only Canadian. So, shout out to Chuck Labano, of course. As here is a move from Chuck Labana going down the inside, and he's just about going to get through on the green Mustang that we so spoke about earlier. Had that excavated into the grass, didn't he? I think it's Thompson's car, and Chuck Labano is able to get through and into 23rd position.
More pit stops, so this is looking to be a two-stop race. I think this may be the first two-stopper that we've seen in AMS, and this may have been another mix-up, or maybe Randall did this on purpose to just show just a little bit more uncertainty, I would say.
I'm not too sure. It depends when Aero Norm stops, doesn't it? Because if Aero Norm is going to stop after 10 laps, then everyone's going to have to stop after 10 laps. He very much dictates these races. Aero Norm is, dominant, again, is a word that we use quite a lot here. Through the bollards he goes. That's interesting. Able to phase through. It's a man of many talents, Aero Norm. Phasing through bollards, evidently one of them. Is he going to go into the pits then on this lap? Or is he going to have to wait another couple? Knowing Aero Norm, he'll want to go as long as he can. If that being said, I say knowing Aero Norm, I think Aero Norm pits when Aero Norm wants to pit. He tends to sometimes go early, sometimes goes long. I think it really just depends on what a win, really.
Yeah, again, like you said, going again, so you wonder at this point if drivers are trying to find a way to keep up with Aero Norm. Maybe that short stint at the beginning, and maybe forcing themselves to stop, unless they are just coming in that early and they're going to run the rest of the race. Maybe that is another strategy as well. They know they can make it to the end on the fuel now. Might as well just stop now and just stay out for the rest of the race. But the danger of that is you can get involved in traffic. I think, at least in my position, what I try to do is if I'm coming up onto traffic that I know I'm going to battle and lose time, that's when I decide to take. And that, again, may have been what some of the drivers were doing.
Yeah, absolutely. You've definitely got to keep an eye on that track map, and definitely what your crew chief is saying as well, whether that be a physical crew chief, of course, or a virtual crew chief down the inside. On this occasion, this is for second position, isn't it? This is between Nelson.
Well, that's between Nelson
yes.
and 39th position of Jeff
Yes,
Besnard, who has already come into pits. And look, there is a cluster behind them.
There is a cluster behind them. Scotty Banks is at the head of the train, and he's just about trying to hold on, I think, here. He doesn't know who's fighting him for position, who's lapped car. This is quite incredible from Scotty Banks. He's trying to make a move into third position. There's a move further ahead, and this is down the inside we go. This is quite incredible. Scotty Banks looking to thread the needle. He's not going to try it, is he? But he is. Scotty Banks almost threads the needle, but he loses the car.
Well, that's the problem, too. Scott Brooks was a lap car there as Banks was trying to get around. Maybe Banks may be a little bit upset that Brooks didn't give him enough room because Matt Malone just gave him that much more. As Dustin Hollis gets it sideways, is going for a move now to try to get back up into fourth position.
On the outside, Dustin Arliss with the stripe on his car. Matt Malone is ahead of this train. Scotty Banks not able to outbrake Dustin Arliss on that occasion. And the Matt Malone-Dustin Arliss derby continues as now they're the two consecutive cars on the circuit. Scotty Banks a little bit frustrated here. He knows that actually if he's going to have any chance at this championship, any fleeting chance at this championship.
Goodness!
You're right. Actually, there is a slide from Dustin Arliss, and now Scotty Banks, hold the tangents, is going to try and get round, perhaps into the next right-hander. Go through the left. Day tucked in behind, as we mentioned before, then maybe think about a movie. Going to go for the dive, not quite, has to just about pull out of it. And I think the sensible move, he might have just tagged Arliss there if he was going to go for anything rash and silly.
Well, Jeff Robichaud, with all of this going on, Jeff Robichaud has found himself in the fight for fourth position right now, but they've got to be careful. Matt Malone is starting to run away just a little bit. Jeff Besnard up there, you can see right in the foreground. If you look close enough, Jeff Besnard let Matt Malone go before they got to the chicane, but now, here's the deal. Besnard, here we go. Allis is, oh man, Besnard is not in a good position right now, trying to allow about 6 leaders around him.
Defending is Arliss, and there's a move around the outside. Is that Phil Keck or Robichaud? It is, and Robichaud just about holding on to the position around the outside at hairpin. Not going to work. Phil Keck, I'm afraid. However, Matt Malone is holding on to third, and Dustin Arliss, more crucially, is holding on to fourth at the moment. Scotty Banks not really able to come back at it, but there's a slide from Arliss, and that might just invite Scotty Banks alongside. No, it won't. He has to tuck into the slipstream. Can he find a move into turn one? It will have to be a very, very late braking move indeed. No, not quite. He has to tuck in behind and not trying anything rash.
If we ride with Arliss for just a little bit, you will see Arliss is sliding that car around. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but Arliss is definitely just bringing the neck of that Mustang, and you wonder if that's going to hold out for 40 minutes. Just don't know if the tires are going to be able to take that amount of pressure, that amount of drive that Arliss has right now.
Has got the option of taking left tyres if he needs to. That's probably the most likely scenario as he head into the pit stop phases, and he's having to hold off Scotty Banks at the moment. This might just be one song too much for him. Through they go into Coppit's turn 8. Scotty Banks almost alongside as they enter into the back straight here at Donington, down into the chicane is Scotty Banks' next opportunity. I don't think he's going to be able to make it on this occasion. Maybe down the inside. No, stays behind into the braking zone. Make sure you get the run out of this chicane. He's almost bump drafting him through there. So aggressive, and now all of the drive he needs, Scotty Banks. Maybe a move down the inside. Can't quite find it just yet. He still is almost bumping him through the chicane, through the hairpin. And now he pulls alongside, switch back from Scotty Banks, maybe down into the next chicane. He has to be on the outside on this occasion. Robichaux is trying to get involved. Scotty Banks is into fourth position. Robichaux on the outside. Dustin Arliss just about holds on to fifth position on this occasion, but Scotty Banks is through. Can Arliss hold on again? He can, as into the pits goes Robichaux.
Yeah, this is Dustin, you can tell, is starting to struggle, I think, with grip. I think he's just been driving that car extremely hard, and I'm not saying I could do any better. I have no idea how to drive these Mustangs, I'll be honest with you, but you can definitely tell that Arliss has been pushing that car to its limits, and those tires are starting to give up just a little bit.
Well, Leicestershire isn't the warmest of places at this time of year, and it's definitely not going to yield that much grip when you've got a car that has been sliding around like Arliss has for 22 minutes. We're still only halfway through into this race, which is absolutely fascinating for me. And now you can see Dustin Arliss clearly falling back from Scotty Banks and into the clutches of Phil Keck, actually, who might be the next one to take Arliss victim.
Yeah, and a bit of a quick look here. We'll have to check in here on the McGrew Meister if I can find him in this car of about 12 million that Randall's put together here, as we see a battle actually in the background.
The McGrew Meister.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to come up. That wasn't a very good nickname for Randall, but I'm definitely coming up. I know he's already heard of McGruber. I mean, there's a few nicknames that there are, but well, hey, look at that. It's a good timing to go here with Randall. He's battling with Roy Baker there in the AM class, looking to gain another position overall, and he's got Matthew Guzenda in front of him as well.
This could be 3 wide down into Coppis. This would be very brave. They're still side by side. Randall McGrew on the outside, just about going to brave it. He might have to thread the needle himself here. He thinks about it and just about thinks against it. He's not able to get onto that position, but he is, in fact, going to go down the inside once again. Randall McGrew is through and just about still battling with these amateur class cars.
Yeah, I mean, and he's still gaining positions here. Up now, he says he's lost 15 positions, but again, guys, there were 42 cars or 41 that started this race, so I can't do math, but I know that is quite a few. That's about 16 cars if I can do a little bit of math.
He is, of course, significantly higher I rating than a lot of the drivers he's had to pass today. Not that we're taking that away from him at Randall McGrew, but the fact of the matter is he'll be thinking about, if you were going to take this away from a little bit of fun and actually into thinking about the wider championship and sort of what a realistic goal would be for Randall here, I think he wants to get top 15. I think that must be his goal. 10 more positions in about 15 minutes. That's probably just about reasonable, I'd say. I don't know if you'd agree.
Well, I don't know, because the problem is you can see on the track map there's only about 6 or 7 cars ahead of him. So I don't know if 15th is going to be possible. It really just depends on stops, and I don't know. We'll get the pit stop windows pulled up for you here. The pit stops to see if McGrew has come in yet and see if who has come in or has not come in ahead of him. That is really going to be the kicker here.
Well, he goes by many names. According to his own admission, he urinates excellence and has his work cut out today. He's got, as he said, he's got a cluster of cars ahead of him, but then a huge gap before the next train, and then another gap before the train after that. So Randall McGrew here going to have to, well, get past Roy Baker first and foremost. Then it's 2 seconds up to Andres. I think here he's just got to get past Roy Baker, and he's got to get past Roy Baker with great haste. 0.6 of a second is that gap at the moment. Won't be making that move on this lap. He's just a little bit too far back. Maybe if he can get a good run through the chicane. Hosier is up into 6th position as a few pit stops are going on at the front of the field. We're just approaching lap 17, so the pit window is starting up now. 15 minutes to go in this race. Randall McGrew, he's the main person we're keeping an eye on in terms of a quest through the field. His next target, of course, as we mentioned, is Roy Baker. Here's Matt Malone in 2nd position now. If I'm not mistaken, that would mean that whoever was in 2nd, that would be Keith, wouldn't it? Nelson, he's gone into the pits. Here's Jesse Hodgson into the pits as well. So Nelson has pit.
There on your screen, you can see, guys, the pit numbers for all of these drivers. And Randall McGrew did pitted on lap 8, actually, which is even earlier than a bunch of other drivers. So as these drivers start to come in, Randall is going to gain a few more positions, it looks like. But it just depends on how many. I mean, you can see all of these drivers up front. I don't think Randall's got a chance on a lot of these drivers up front. But maybe Robichaud, Meadows, Little, Andres, drivers like that could come back to him.
In the meantime, actually, it should be mentioned that Baker, who was battling with Randall McGrew, is coming to the pits. Here's Aaron Arm into the pits. Then Matt Malone, I think, might just follow him in, or does he stay out? Matt Malone, he does stay out, and he's going to just about take the lead of the race. But for how long is the question? Nom into the pits. That takes away his chance at a Grand Slam. Not that it's going to matter for him at the top of the point standings. Here he goes out into 4th position. I think he'll rejoin. So it's actually just about on time, the pit stop. This is what we predicted would be the sort of savers pit stop time. That's what Randall predicted anyway. And clearly, he might have predicted wrong because we've seen so many people come into the pits so early. Aaron Nom is essentially the latest of them, I'd say. He's got about 12 minutes now, 12 strong minutes to get back into this race. Well, I say get back into this race, to put the hammer down and make sure he gets his lead back.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing Aero can't do now is make a mistake, and Matt Malone is definitely going to be driving like hammer time if you guys watch Formula One. So he's definitely, I would assume, probably going to come in this lap. He's seen Aero come in, maybe just trying to get the best in lap he can in hope and pray that Aero, I couldn't tell if he took tires or not, but maybe with just a little more fuel, has to lose just a little bit. Matt can get into his draft, but the other thing, the other person you got to worry about, like you said, is Keith. I mean, Keith Nelson back there in 5th position right now, getting that back. And Keith, where is and Keith? So there are the 2 positions. So yeah, it's kind of I think going to be status quo here for Aero once all these drivers ahead of him.
It should be, but well, we're long overdue an Aero Nom mistake as Keck comes into the pit alongside Matt Malone, Bast as well, and more crucially, that means Aaron Nom is in fact going to take the Grand Slam, because technically speaking he will have led every lap once he gets over the line here. I think, oh, it might not count. I think we'll count it. Never mind. It doesn't matter anyway. You don't get points for it, but pure head game, I suppose.
Yeah, I would assume that's probably what it is. But yeah, Nom back up there into the lead again, and yeah. The battle is now on. You can see Malone coming out of the pitch behind Nelson. Malone's going to have some ground to make up here if he tries, if he can think about making this move. But look at this. Scotty Banks is up ahead now of Dustin Ollis. So you can see Malone up there in the foreground. You've got Banks, Malone, and Ollis here starting to form a little train. And this is for 3rd position overall. It's going to be a battle here coming on.
Question we won't be able to know is whether Dustin Ollis did indeed take left side tyres. He should have been able to do it in the time of the pit stop. In terms of the fuel he'll have to take to the end of this race, and the question is whether he did. Just give himself that little bit extra grip. He was struggling in the previous stint. can he get past Scotty Banks? And that is the next question.
It is, and it's going to be a question that we're going to have answered here in about 9 minutes' time, but we haven't really covered this AM class as good, but Jose is back there. Hosea, going to have to get with me here in the SMB. Back there in first in class, 12th overall right now, way ahead of Chuck Labano back there in 20th overall.
Yeah, we talk about Aero Nam as if he's been so dominant, but actually, as dominant as Aero Nam has been, Hosea has been dominant over Chuck Labano in the amateur category. So, you know, it's just as impressive, actually, given his iRating. Roy Baker won last week at Zolder, and obviously Charles Hosea, I don't believe, raced last week. I definitely don't recognise his name with respect to if he did, in fact, race last week, and I just missed out on that. But definitely a strong showing this evening. 12th position. He's ahead of the bulk, actually, of the pro cars. So, well, definitely an encouraging moment for him. Here's the classes separated. You can see Hosea about 7 seconds, maybe, ahead of Chuck Labano.
Look at about 9 right there. There you go. So AM class, Hosea is winning by about 9 seconds right now and got 10, 9, 8 minutes now to continue to grow this lead. Really not much going on here with Labano. I don't know if Labano's going to be 9 seconds at Donington, but I've been proved wrong before.
About 5 laps to go when we get to the line. It'll be lap 20 of what we expect to be 24, unless Aero Nam sneaks another one in with his pace, which he might just be able to do. That being said, he's lost time on the previous lap to Keith Nelson, who's pitted 2 laps before his rival in the number 2 car.
Well, I believe Aero was probably trying to find his way through traffic there. You can see Jay Little behind him. May have been why he lost a little bit. It just really depends on where you find traffic, as everybody who race any type of it.
Yeah, but perhaps there's a little bit of hope for Nelson. Let's give him some hope.
I'm trying here, Keith. I'm trying to give you a little bit of hope, man. Put the pedal down, buddy. Go get him.
Wow, you could be a race engineer, Adam, with that kind of advice.
I mean, that's about the best advice you could give anybody at this point is trying. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if I'm anybody's race engineer other than Aero Noms, I don't even know what to do.
Yes, well, press the pedal harder and you'll gain 0.2 per second or something like that. And Matt Malone still holding on to 3rd position. Scotty Banks has reeled him in a little bit as Arliss lost out to someone. No, he hasn't. There's lap traffic in the way. He's fallen by the wayside a little bit, though. 2 seconds between himself and Scotty Banks. Here is Justin Arliss in the number 44 car. There's a lapped car in between them.
Real quick, Tom, I gotta cut you off here real quick. We've got the Racing Llama, great username, by the way, here in the YouTube chat, asking how is Pro and Am determined? Do that for you. So the Pro class has iRatings of 2.5K or higher, or people who want to voluntarily hop into that class to accept a bigger challenge. And then the obviously amateur division, 2.5 or less. That's really the answer. So anybody in the AM has a 2.5K iRating or less, and anybody in the Pro 2.5K, well, 2.5K or higher. Amateur stops at $24.99, or any AMs that want to hop in there. If you don't do a lot of official iRacing, your iRating is super duper low, but you still are pretty quick. They will put you up into the Pro.
Yeah, this is a good point, the fact that there can be that manual adjustment, because remember, there's some people who are blisteringly fast on other games, and iRating is essentially, more than anything, a measure of experience. It's, you know, oh my word, hold that thought, Justin Arliss has almost spun out.
He's been sliding that thing around that final corner, and those tires cannot be happy. I don't know if it's his plan or if the tires are just not happy already by trying to keep up with Matt Malone there at the beginning of the stint.
It's scary stuff. How he hasn't spun it yet, I have no idea. It's a testament to his car control, but the most pressing concern for him is that Robichaud is catching him in great numbers. He could find himself in the top 5 by the end of this race. Scotty Banks makes the move on Matt Malone and is into third position around the outside. Scotty Banks goes now down the inside into the right. Scotty Banks to third.
Unbelievable move. Great battle. We will get that one back for you here on the replay very shortly after we make sure Matt Malone doesn't try to get it back, which he's about to try.
He is about to try it, but it's not going to be easy for him. The chicane, the next opportunity, perhaps Scotty Banks goes slightly defensive, might have to pull back to the racing line. They're side by side, almost Banks does cut him off. Oh,
that was a bit of a cheeky move. I think I just used a British term there. That may have been very close to the braking zone when Scotty Banks decided to crank that thing back to the right side.
Now they're very close in the braking zone. Banks on the inside, Matt Malone on the outside, looks for the switchback. It's going to have to be perfectly executed. As you know, it almost is. Matt Malone on the outside, down into the final hairpin. Banks on the inside, he has to brake very, very late indeed. He gets the line perfectly, almost has to run Matt Malone all the way to the outside, who now has to look to the outside, down into turn one. They've been side by side for best part of an entire lap of this Donington circuit. On the outside goes Matt Malone, not quite alongside into the braking zone, and that might just be all she wrote for the time being.
Unbelievable race by these two, and I don't think it's over yet. We'll keep on this just for a little bit longer because it doesn't look like Matt Malone is trying to give up this fight, and you can really see now how much the draft is taking effect. Scotty Banks was able to get by Matt Malone. Great move by Scotty. We will go back actually and see that right now. That was just an unbelievable move.
Let's have a watch of this then. Down the inside he goes.
Oh, that was
stable.
That was just now. We're going to go back here just a little bit sooner.
I didn't think it was just as impressive. Here he goes. It was a mistake for Matt Malone. Scotty Banks saw the outside, knew that he'd have the inside for the next corner, still had to brave it out here. That's not a flat corner in these Mustangs to my knowledge. Then down the inside, Matt Malone couldn't really do anything about it. He definitely tried onto the grass again. Almost tried to come back at him into turn.
Look at this!
Oh, he's back ahead!
This is why we don't go back to replays, folks, because stuff like this happens. We'll have to get this one back for you as well.
We will, but not before we've seen the conclusion of the battle. In fact, yes, before we've seen the conclusion of the battle. Was it a switchback move? It was a switchback move down into turn 8. Matt Malone goes through into third position. That's a far more regulation move than Scotty Banks had pulled on him the lap before. And now Banks has got his work cut out to try and get back into this one. I make it 2 laps, maybe?
Yeah, it's probably going to be about 2 to... maybe even... Yeah, definitely 2 to go at this point. I would assume Aeronom going to be, when he crosses the line here, may get the white flag. Yeah, definitely going to get the white flag here as we've got 38:30 to go. So really about 1.5 here to go for Aeronom to take his second win of American Muscle in whatever season.
4. So, well, we'll get onto the Aeronom win in just a moment's time, because right now Banks is 5 tenths of a second behind Matt Malone. This could definitely bubble up, and especially as they head into the white flag lap, there is a little bit of lap traffic in the way. Can he let Scotty Banks through as well? He's into the battle. Oh, he almost takes him out, and my word, that is a moment. I don't know who that lap car was. Frankly, I don't think it's important with respect to him, because Scotty Banks is alive. Here we go. It was Eric Snook, and well, he almost snuck Scotty Banks off of the podium. I'll see myself out. But what happened here? I think he just got spooked, actually.
I think he was trying to go wide to let those leaders go around, and he way too wide. But back to the battle again, and it looks like Malone's been able to hold this now up to 7 tenths even. This is a white flag lap for these drivers. Well, not white flag yet. Will be when they cross the line.
Aeronom does take the white flag then as he heads across the finish line for the final time, for the penultimate time I should say. Matt Malone makes a slight mistake. Scotty Banks needs an exit and a run out of this corner. The wide angle shots absolutely doing this all the justice it needs, and they've got a clear track ahead of them as well. On to the final lap. White flag flies. Can Scotty Banks get a well-earned podium, or can Matt Malone hold firm and just about hold Scotty Banks off? Down into turn 1 they go. Matt Malone is absolutely perfect through there. I think Banks just a little bit wider. He's absolutely on the rails at the moment, Scotty Banks. This is incredible stuff from these two, and I think Matt Malone is just maybe just about safe.
Well, you can see that gap starting to come down again. I do believe that maybe Banks was holding a little bit something in the tank because he's coming now. 4 tenths, 3 tenths. He's gaining on Malone, but will it be enough?
Got to be a good run out of turn 8, turn 7 as well. Banks thinks about it down the inside, builds that pressure, always building the pressure, Scotty Banks, and now he's almost in touching distance of the bumper of Matt Malone's car. Through they go then onto the Grand Prix loop for the final time, onto the back straight first and foremost. Banks needs to get a good run out of the chicane. Here's Dustin Arliss, he's trying to hold off Rubber Shower at the same time. Matt Malone though, still ahead of Scotty Banks and still ahead by quite some margin. Down into the chicane they go. Banks has got such a good run. Can he keep it together through the chicane? Yes, he can. Matt Malone can as well, maybe. Now the hairpin coming up for Matt Malone. He's just about going to get it. Aeronarm crosses the line. It's going to be yet another grand slam for the champion, the double champion. Someone's off on the right hand side. It's all kicking off. It's going to have to be a mighty dive bomb from Scotty Banks through the hairpin for the final time. Just about, I think, Matt Malone. Wait, hold your breath. Puts his foot down. He's going to take the podium. He's had to defend so hard from Scotty Banks today, but he holds on to 3rd position. Arliss holds on to 5th. And I need to take a breath because that was incredible stuff. Here's Hoopjack. He's battling with Howard through the final hairpin.
Yeah, there are battles going on up and down the field right now. Looks like Kevin Parrish has just made a huge mistake. He's out of gas. Kevin Parrish has run out of gas. You can see it chugging. He's going to try to make it, but he's not going to. Oh, no. Look out, guys.
Oh, my word. Actually petrol in these bars, Adam, and he's going to be out of the race. He's around the outside. It is Thompson, I think. He can't quite find it on Randall McGrew, who's going to finish in 14th position. I said that would be around his target, and he's exactly hit that target.
Unbelievable drive by Randall McGrew, but we still have battles going up and down the field right now. We did miss. Wait a minute. Chuck Labano took 1st place. What happened?
What did happen to the man who was leading the amateur category all the way through that race? Hosier, 9th position. I think he was out, you know. I think he crashed out. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so Hosea entered pit lane. He had to go into the pits. Chuck Labano, we're not covering the AM class at all. Chuck Labano comes through and takes the win in the AM class. Great drive by Chuck Labano, and I'm sure I'm going to get neutered for not showing that AM class a little bit more after that.
Or get on the replays. We'll see if we can find what happened. But anyway, I'm sure you are. I don't need to tell you. We'll wait for the confirmation of the results, and then we will see if we can find that replay. Here is a replay, maybe. Chuck Labano taking the win. And
so, yeah, there's Chuck Labano going down the straight, and if I can find him, there's Charles sitting in the pits.
And there, as well, is him taking right side tyres. So perhaps he was forced into a stop through damage.
That could have been it. But anyways, waiting for the rest of these drivers to come across the line here. I do believe, before we get results here, just a few more minutes here. Got Jeff Andres now coming across the line. It looks like actually everybody's done. We can get you guys the results right now. And you know what? Tom, I'll let you take us through the results.
Well, don't be so hasty, Adam. I can't actually read them on my screen, so I'm going to have to delegate.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind then. We've got Ironam here in 1st position, as always, with Keith Nelson there in 2nd. Matt Malone tried to get some battles going here, but able to take 3rd and hold it from Dustin Allis, who actually loses the position to Scott Banks, as there are some battles going on here in the pits, and it looks more like sumo wrestling than battling. But anyways, Jeff Robichaud there in 6th, Jay Bass 7th, Evan Hoopchak 8th, Brian Howard 9th, and Jesse Hodgson rounds out your top 10. Anthony Castillo there in 11th, Todd Hansen 12th, Edgar Sanchinelli comes 13th. Yeah, Edgar's the one of those sitting in the pits right now. Randall McGrew there in 14th, Clint Fletcher 15th, Bill Keck 16th, Chuck Labano comes home as your AM class winner tonight there in 17th with David Clymer in 18th. Matthew Gazenda 19th. Mike Nickham 20th. Dan Ott, second place there in your AM class. Roy Baker comes home in third in AM, 22nd overall. Chris Schulthes in fourth. David Moore, 24th. I apologize. Kenny Meadows, 25th. Jesus Andrade there in 26th. Matthew Thompson, 27th. Charles Hosea there in 28th. Kevin Parrish, 29th. Fabian Zoyer rounds out your top 30. James Rashley, 31st. Jay Little, 22nd. David Blair, 33rd. Mike Thompson, 34th. Scott Brooks, 35th. Michael Puchik in 36th. Ken Estep, 37th. Nick Batista, 38th. Jeff Besnard, 39th. Jeff Andres, 40th. Stefan Price in 41st. Eric Snook, 5 laps down in 42nd. Luis Henriquez was 24 laps down in, I don't know if he ever took the.
No, I don't think he did. We did see him taking that pit lane start and not able to set a lap in qualifying. Must have been troubleshooting some iRacing issues or something, as I have been. Well, I'd say haven't been over the last couple of days. I haven't had a chance to fix them. But yes, anyway, as we've got some interviews ready for us. And Aero Nam, this is, well, you know, I always make the joke this is becoming a weekly occurrence. Aero, how are you this week?
Pretty good.
Awesome. Good to hear. Concise. Another win, another Grand Slam to add to the books. Just about got it in the end there, actually, as the lap that everyone else came into the pit, she just about took the lead. So, I mean, successful, lights to flag again. It's not really much to say with you. It's just win, win, win.
Yeah, I had some hardware issues last week, so I used the older GPU, so it was better this week, so no issues. The quali wasn't so close. I don't know what others doing, but yeah, the quali wasn't close, but the race actually was much closer. Just Keith didn't get the tires working in the first laps. I think otherwise, if the gap was smaller, he was able to keep up with me.
Yes, and well, in terms of the championship, it'd be easy for you to feel after these two strong showings that you've got it all but wrapped up. There's plenty of challenges to go as we now go into two unorthodox races. We've got the 220 minutes at Brands Hatch next week, and then Snetterton 300, the 60 minutes next week, the week after that. So really, are you trying to win all three of those races? A bit of a silly question, really, but with those 20-minute races being one of those a reverse grid, you must know that that's a challenge. Is that a damage limitation weekend for you?
Yeah, I think so. If you don't look the results so far, but it's actually much closer between all drivers. So top 10 in the reverse grid will be very tough to pass, I think. So yeah, that's the week. I don't think I can win. And 60 minutes race, yeah, it's longer. So I don't know. We have to see.
And well, anyone you want to shout out after yet another victory era?
Yeah, like always, I want to thank all the drivers, the admins, Winnie, the sponsors, and the guys in the booth.
Thank you very much for joining us, Aero Nam, and well, maybe we'll speak to you next week again.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you. That was Aero Nam, the winner in the pro category. Now we'll drag in Chuck Labano.
Hang on, Tom. Before we go here to Chuck Labano, can we just talk about? Well, Chuck's here, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Can we talk about how calm Aero sounded? He just won that race, and it doesn't even sound like he broke a sweat.
Well, to be honest with you, I think that might be the fact it's 5 a.m. for him, and he says he doesn't go to bed. So maybe that's got something to do with it. But I think when you're a driver like Aero Nam, who's so dominant in this series, he's got such a handle on this series. He won't have broken a sweat, honestly. That will have, I imagine, towards the end there, been almost 75%. You know, he gets up, he drives for 40 minutes, and he goes to bed. I don't think there's much more to it for him at this point. He hasn't been challenged, actually, for a lead of this race since the middle of last season, Adam. Yeah. So
that's
this
true.
must just be a hot lapping session for him almost.
Yeah, that's true. But who didn't have a hot lapping session is Chuck Labano. Congratulations on the win, my man. And I am very apologetic for not getting your win, unfortunately, or your pass for the win after your competitor had to come into the pits. Did you expect or did you see that one coming?
To be fair, I screwed up my qualifying so bad that I started in the corner.
So my goal was really just to do laps, not wipe out. I was watching everyone wipe out, make it to my first pit stop, which I did. I'm somewhere around the 20th, and I keep checking my relative. And all I see are pros all around me. So for me, it was quite a boring race with not much to do except stay alive.
Well,
Sorry, it wasn't until Randall said, "Would you number 113 please go to the booth?" That I even realized I won.
yeah, that was I don't think anybody realized you won, Chuck, to be honest. I mean, we could tell you were just back there driving around, but Charles had to come into the pits on like second to last or the last lap, and it gave you the win, which may have been you know, a good thing actually if you weren't even thinking about it, not knowing you were in the lead, just driving around keeping it clean.
Yeah, that was the goal. After last season, I mean, I don't think I finished a race the first half. So the fact that I've got second last week and first this week, you know, I can pretty much retire now.
Well,
there's not much to do.
You go ahead, please do, because I'm pretty sure that your fellow AM class drivers would not be upset if you decided to retire right now, with you very close to, if not in the championship lead right now for the AM class. But because we have you here, I'm going to go ahead and show another clip from your son, who has decided to sponsor the league here for the season, Chuck. So big shout out to Royal Smitiy as well. But back to your race. How did tires feel? Because we saw some of the drivers up at the front pushing, and you could definitely see the tire wear come into effect there at the end.
Yeah, I mean, at first I had a hard time even warming up the tires. You know, starting in the back, you're like coasting for 2 laps, right? So it took me a good 3 or 4 laps just to get them warmed up. And again, not pushing all that hard. I didn't really feel anything until close to my pit stop. But once they started going, for me, it showed in I want to say the left front. So every right-hand turn I was making, I was just struggling to get through.
Yeah, we could definitely see that the left side tires were probably going to be the move for most of the drivers. But, well, you took it anyways. But I do have to ask you, coming up to Brands Hatch here next week, heat racing, how are you feeling about that one?
Well, I feel the same as any other time. You know, I seem to be a mid-packer, but all these tracks I'm pretty much buying as I go. It seems like everyone's a new learning process, but again, I'll just stick with the game plan. It works. Apparently I can win with it too, so no reason to change now.
You know what? Don't change a damn thing, Chuck. Second, now first. I think you've definitely figured something out here. But anybody you want to shout out or thank before we let you go?
Well, yeah, I'd like to, you know, Royal Smitiy there, who sponsored our league and put zero pressure on me, of course. And Mike Nickham with his freaking awesome mugs that I have here. I'm drinking my pop out of it now. Randall does a really good job putting these in. I think that's it. I didn't notice any new sponsors. Oh, Simpit. I thought I saw Simpit on there.
Yep. That you got them all, Chuck. Well, thank you for the shout outs, and we will hopefully talk to you next week.
Sure, why not?
All right. Have a good night, Chuck.
See you later.
He can have my job shouting out the sponsors there. Very well done. Oh, we need to do more sponsories. Apparently, let's have a look at what we've got left. Is it? Are we supposed to shout out the Simpit next, Adam, before we jump off of the broadcast?
I think that would probably be a pretty good idea. Let's get down here to the Simpit sponsor read. We do not have a graphic on the stream at the moment, but we can go ahead and get this for you. No, we can't. But they are high quality 3D printed trophies for this series. It's a website, video show, and community built for sim racers to find information about our hobby. The ultimate purpose of the sim is to make sim racers faster and more informed. Search for this. Check out their website at www.thesimpit.com, HESIMPIT.com, and we've got D-Nut stuff as well. Get your own AMS travel mug or slate coaster, along with other awesome racing mods and accessories. the D Nut Stuff Etsy shop. Again, it's capital D, capital N, UT, capital S, UFF on Etsy. Go get yourself some mugs from American Muscle.
Yes, definitely want to go and do that. I have to say those books look absolutely spectacular. But anyway, as we look at our upcoming broadcast here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, you watch Spec 5 on February the 2nd. That's tomorrow at 9:15 p.m. EST. Sunday, February the 5th, we've got the Radical SR8 at the Monza Oval, right turning like every proper oval. That's XSLR. I saw some Monza Oval racing over the course of the last week. That was very entertaining on Slow Motion Broadcasting as
Yeah,
well.
I'd say so.
WSRL then returns on the 7th of February at 8:45 p.m. Eastern with LMP2 and GT3 at Fuji. What a wonderful, well, I say wonderful, what's a interesting track Fuji is over there in Japan. Then, of course, next week we return once again, 9:10 p.m. Eastern Time, Mustang FR 500s at Brands Hatch. That's the 2 times 20-minute race. You do not want to miss that.
And Tom, I do have to say this will be my last time commentating with you in the league, and I want to say it's been fun for the last 2 races. I hope that American Muscle Series rest.
Oh, I hope so too, Adam. It's been a pleasure having you along on the stream. But anyway, I think it's about time we round it off. So thank you all very much for watching yet another spectacular weekend of action here at the American Muscle Series. I say the weekend, the spectacular evening of action in the American Muscle Series. The British leg of this calendar continues next week at Brands Hatch, where Aero Nam looks to continue his absolutely unbelievable dominance of this championship. Thank you all very much for watching, and we'll see you all later. Good night.
Not so, Patrick. do, we, do we describe this for everybody, Rob?
What?
You
What?
describe it. You describe it. I
What?
do enough talking.
I think any car's dead in iRacing. I think it's gone.
Oh, it's definitely. I agree. It's not going to survive much. But I still think we'll find opportunities to race it, just not as fruitful as before. Some of them just want to like make. What's the thing? Like that guy wanted to make like dolls out of Tyler's hair, but then there's just other guys who are just like. He did. He would say weird things to Tyler, man. Like he was a strange guy. And then like other guys would just show up out of nowhere. He's like,
Oh, I
"Oh,
just-
we never met you? Sure, come race this 24 with us." And then you just jump in the car and wreck us out in a lap and be like, "Okay, never see you again."
Yeah, that
Like,
was
okay. Well, better luck next year, I guess.
that was the guy from